Flood waters threatened to engulf 2 towns in southern Pakistan on Saturday, a month after the disaster began, as the United Nations warned that tens of thousands of children risk death from malnutrition.
The floods are Pakistan's worst ever natural disaster in terms of amount of damage and the number of people affected, with more than 6 million forced from their homes and about 1 million of them in last few days as the water flows south. The disaster has killed about 1,600 people, inflicted billions of dollars of damage to homes, infrastructure and the vital agriculture sector, and stirred anger against the US-backed government, which has struggled to cope. Floodwaters are beginning to recede across the most of the country as the water flows downstream, but high tides in the Arabian Sea meant there still pose a threat to towns in Sindh province, such as Thatta, 70 kilometers east of Karachi. Water had broken the banks of Indus near Thatta and also broken out a feeder canal running off the river, compounding the danger, Riaz Ahmed, Relief Commissioner in the southern province of Sindh, said.
Aid agency Oxfam says reconstruction efforts must begin immediately in Pakistan to prevent the flooding disaster from becoming a long-term catastrophe. The British-based international charity said billions of dollars would be needed to start rebuilding schools, roads, bridges and hospitals immediately, adding that the aid effort is struggling to respond. Oxfam warned there was a danger that many farmers would miss the winter planting season in September. Meanwhile, the cleanup operation would take months, meaning millions of people would be facing the colder months in temporary shelters or out in the open. Oxfam says reconstruction efforts must look at ensuring Pakistan is better placed to cope with future crises. When natural calamities strike, disaster relief always comes too little and too late. But how and with what speed the international community responds to a natural catastrophe is influenced by a host of factors. In the case of the monsoon floods that have ravaged Pakistan and killed scores of people and displaced millions more, aid agencies and umbrella organizations like the United Nations are reporting reluctance, especially among the traditionally dependable donors in the West, to dig deep and give.
The UN launched a flash appeal on August 9th to raise nearly $500 million to cover the first 90 days of disaster relief aid. 10 days later, only half this money had been pledged, in sharp contrast to the response to the earthquake in Haiti earlier this year, when nearly $600 million was raised in the same initial 10-day period. As it is to be expected, explanations for donor reluctance have tended to focus on the nature of Pakistan itself. More generous analysts have contented themselves with saying that perhaps Western donors mistrust the corruption and apparent double-dealing of the government of President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani. There appear to be many reasons why donors, including national governments, have been slow to respond to Pakistan crisis, starting with the nature of the catastrophe itself. Unlike the earthquakes in Haiti this year, or Kashmir in 2005, or the tsunami that hit Indonesia, Thailand, Burma, Sri Lanka and India in 2004, the Pakistani floods have not been an instant calamity that killed tens of thousands of people in a matter of minutes or hours. In Pakistan, the flood started on July 29th, nearly a month ago, when unusually heavy monsoon rain caused flash floods and landslides in northwestern Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Within Pakistan, the government's response was awful and much criticism was leveled at Zardari, who embarked on a plane trip to Europe despite the need for action at home.